So what have you got going on here?
Stock signing, I think.
I'm not exactly sure what stock signing is.
That's when you sign some books that, like, I think these are pre-sales.
Okay.
That they already sold to somebody and they want to get it signed, but they can't be here to get it signed. So
Gotcha.
it's nice to get them out of the way ahead of time, and then sometimes there's a bunch of them. Like I've been in stores where there was like 100 of them, and it's good to let my wrist rest between then and afterwards, because I can run my mouth for a while. That's easier on my hand.
There you go. So do you? You mentioned the hand cramping thing. Do you write longhand or do you type this stuff out usually?
Oh, when I type when I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's me on a couch with a laptop usually.
Well, I think it was in this one you mentioned. I think in the thank you that you finished writing the book while playing Nero.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have a laptop out in the fields and?
No, it was in a corner of the tavern where there was an outlet.
Okay.
But yeah, I couldn't play until I got a certain amount of stuff done and got the book finished. So I had to get the book finished and got the book finished, put the laptop away, got out the armor, entered the game,
Cool.
and in time to catch on the serious political role play session. No combat at all. It's like, oh, cheated. Yeah, I'll be the guy during those kinds of things in live role play. I'll be the guy who throws a shield on the ground, goes to sleep, and says, "Okay, wake me up when there's something that needs to be broken."
So besides Nero, what else do you play?
Oh, just every tabletop game you could think of. I've played almost all of them at one time or another. I've played a paranoia campaign. When you've played a paranoia campaign, you're pretty far gone, you know.
I think Call of Cthulhu is probably the epitome of pointless gaming, but...
Oh yeah, oh well, yeah, and I've multiple Call of Cthulhu, or we have a regular Call of Cthulhu campaign, which I wouldn't let my son play. He's like, "Why not? You guys are always laughing." I said, "Yeah, but they're cannibalism jokes, and you know, that's just kind of where it starts." And so no. But Warhammer roleplay is one of my favorites to play, and then play online stuff. I used to play EverQuest, and I was pretty serious on EverQuest. But
so was EverCrack for you?
Oh, absolutely, and yeah, and I've stayed away from World of Warcrack. So
yeah, World of Warcrack has a tendency to suck people in. My executive editor has a problem sometimes pulling himself away. It's hey, Charlton Heston died the other day. Can you write a obituary for? No. You're doing a dungeon. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, I understand that. Your kids. How old are your kids?
I've got the one. He's 16.
16. Okay. Now, has he read your stuff or no?
Yeah, he likes the Alera stuff. He doesn't care for the Dresden stuff so much.
Really?
Yeah.
How long have the Dresden books? There's 10 of them now, obviously.
Yeah.
His first favorite just coming out last week.
Yep.
In the Alera, there's 4 Alera books currently?
So far. I'm working on number 5.
Gotcha. And are you like flip-flopping? You write a Dresden, you write an Alera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually how it works, although this time it's been write a Dresden, write a little bit of Alera, write a comic book, a little more Alera, some more comic book, write some more Alera, short story, and then go back to some more Alera. So.
Gotcha. The comic book, that's coming out from Dabble Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
How's it working with those guys? They've kind of got a weird reputation in the comic book industry.
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, it seems to be going great.
Okay.
I'm writing the first 4 issues, and that's been fun, although I didn't realize how much work it was going to be when I signed on for it. You know, I mean, picture's worth 1,000 words. There's between 1 and 6 pictures on every comic book page, and I'm the guy's got to write the 1,000 words, you know, tell the author what I want, or tell the artist what I want. But I'm writing the first 4 issues, and then after that they're adapting the novels to comics, and those are supposed to be out. They said those will take between 14 and 18 issues each, I think.
Gotcha. So then the first 4-issue comic is going to be a side story?
Yeah, it's a short story set just before the events of Stormfront.
Okay, will it be the short story you have up on your website, or is it going to be something new?
No, it's not that. It's a new one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new one. There's some problems with the Lincoln Park Zoo, and somebody needs to investigate it, and Harry gets called in on the case. It's going to be one of his earlier cases with Murphy, where he produced results, you know, which made her inclined to use them again in the future.
So, Lincoln Park, the Dresden Files, set primarily in Chicago, and you mentioned you've played most games. I'm assuming you probably played the White Wolf stuff back in the mid-90s.
No, actually, I missed it, except for a couple of mushes.
Okay.
I missed White Wolf.
Yeah, it was part of White Wolf's thing in the mid-'90s, at least, was that Chicago was the creepiest damn place ever. In fact, their newer stuff, it still is.
Oh, cool.
There's seems to be a propensity. Besides the World of Darkness, you've got there's a forthcoming film called Death Walks the Streets, apparently, that's being set in Chicago, some mob vampire werewolf trilogy thing. And then, of course, the Dresden Files. What is it about Chicago that screams to you, this is the creepy damn place?
Oh, well, I hate to break up the romance of it, but the fact of the matter is I had originally set the Dresden Files in Kansas City, and my writing teacher, I was doing it as an assignment in a writing class. My writing teacher looked at it and said, Jim, you're already writing something that's close enough to walking on Laurel Hamilton's toes. You don't need to set it in Missouri, too. You got to set it somewhere else. Where? I don't care. Anywhere, just not Missouri. And I'm like, okay, and there's a globe on her desk. There's 4 American cities on the globe. One of them's New York, which is already sewn up by Spider-Man and Superman. One of them's D.C., which I don't want to write a story there because it'll have to get political, and then you lose at least 48% of the audience. One was Los Angeles, which I didn't want to do because then I'd have to research Los Angeles. So I said Chicago, and she's like, yeah, Chicago's fine. I said, okay. But as it turned out, it was a good choice, just in terms of how much lore there is in the area, how the various stories and so on that surround the history of the town. It's an old town for an American city, so that helps a lot as well. And just generally speaking, it's a good place to set just about any kind of story. But for my story, it worked really well.
Now, with you mentioned that your creative writing teacher pointed out stepping on Hamilton's toes. How much of Lord Hamilton's work really influenced the Dresden stuff, or is there one author that really influenced your work primarily?
I think the biggest influence was actually a movie that was out on HBO a long, long ago called Cast a Deadly Spell.
Okay.
It starred Fred Ward. It was produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who was also a producer of Aliens and Tremors and some other fairly cool movies that were cooler than they had any right to be. And this is another movie that was cooler than it had any right to be. It was set in 1940s, and it was this whole noir, thing. But magic was a part of the world, and this detective was the only one who didn't use magic. And there was this whole case surrounding these Cthulhu entities and so on that he was off investigating. And I just loved the investigation. Just the whole tenor and atmosphere of it was great.
Yeah, your series has managed to avoid kind of the sex trap, as it were. I mean, Hamilton's, I think, beyond the last novel, probably 3 or 4 novels past were primarily almost Harlequin romance, sex novels, it seemed like. And her fairy series seems to have bordered almost on softcore, Showtime kind of thing. But you've managed to avoid that, yet still keep him fairly well grounded and not asexual. Is that
right.
something you keep in mind, or is it just something that happens because of the way you write?
I didn't have Harry's love life planned out. That was one of the things. I mean, I've got most of the general story arc scripted, where I know what's going to be happening and so on. But Harry's love life was not planned out. I always wanted that to be something that would just kind of organically go with what we were doing. And Harry himself is just. It's not that he's like actively bad with women or anything. He's just sort of Harry's the magical equivalent of a computer nerd. Really, I mean, he is a little bit socially awkward in certain aspects of it, of getting on with the opposite sex.
And I think that speaks really well to the audience. I notice a lot of the people I know that read the books identify with that aspect rather.
Yeah, let me go on Mr. Monk on this for a second. It's not straight. There, now I'm happier.
But so you mentioned you have parts of it planned out, not the love life. But so does this mean that you know where the story ends?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm planning on writing about 20 case books like we've got so far. And then at the end, I'll cap it all off with a big old apocalyptic trilogy, because who doesn't love apocalyptic trilogies? I was taken to see Star Wars. It's the first movie I remember being taken to see, and it's warped me. It's warped me.